Hey everyone, happy holidays. This is Troy Nickerson, class of 1972 head wrestling coach. We are just finishing up here at the Southern Scuffle down in Chattanooga, Tennessee. This is always a great event that I look forward to. I've been to it a bunch, not only just as a competitor, but as a coach as well. I brought my previous team here pretty much every year, and I think it's really a great event that really just set up the rest of the season for our guys, and it's one that we try to prepare for and peak for accordingly. Coming off our last competition, we had about a solid week of training before, just having a nice little Christmas party, a little get together before we sent the guys off for holiday break. They had about 6, 7 days where they really got to go home, spend time with their families, and really just kind of decompress a little bit before they got back into training. We got home, back to post, had about 4 solid days of training before we came down to Chattanooga here on the first, right on the new year. And, I really liked where our guys were at coming off that break. I think they were, really professional in how they handled that break. And we had, like I said, 4 really solid days of training. And, now that we got down and we acclimated, it was really just about, just fine tuning everything that we needed to do to be ready to go moving forward. So, we had a great training facility here at a local high school. They've got amazing facilities. Again, I've been there many times in the past, and, they really do a great job of taking care of us. So we got to train there for the past 2 days. And from there, it was just all just getting ready for competition. And, our guys, they're down to weight and, they're ready to go. So I'm really excited, just to continue on with the season and, just continue to make those small steps as we continue to get better each and every time out. This past 6 months has been a little bit of a whirlwind, right? Really trying to connect with our guys, getting to know them, not only just as competitors, but as people, right? And I think we've done a really nice job of completing, one of the best coaching staffs in the country and, being able to have a lot of different personalities and coaching styles. Just seeing the individual relationships that each and every one of our guys have with, their individual coaches and how those have just grown with time. It's something that's exciting to me because, as we continue to get to know these guys and develop those relationships, there are stronger relationships, between some coaches and certain athletes. And, I think that's what's special about our chemistry with our team right now is, we've got a little bit of everything going on. And, as we prepare for competition, our preparation is always the same. We have the same training cycle each and every time, about 48 hours out. And, for us, it's each and every individual guy getting what their individual needs are, right? From their individual coach. And, each one of those different relationships, personalities, coaching styles is a little bit different, so that's something that's exciting to us. And being able to go out and make sure that these guys have every little need catered to what they need is super important to us. And, we do the best we can to make sure that they're prepared each and every time out. One of the things I really like about the Southern Scuffle is you do get good quality competition from really all the different conferences throughout the country, right? So we're seeing a lot of different faces that we don't normally see. And just it's a great opportunity in the middle of the season coming off that break to really just, rejuvenate. And, some guys they're getting right back into form and maybe they've had a hot start to the season, continuing with that. Others are making those small adjustments that they need to take that next step, and our messaging to the guys going into the tournament was just like, hey, like whatever you need individually, like let's make sure it's corrected and that we can continue to move forward. And I think our guys responded to that really well early in the tournament and just being able to go out and, wrestle hard, which we always do, and being able to go out and execute at the highest level. After we got done with our initial, pre-match warm up, I mean, my messaging to the guys was pretty simple, right? It was fast start or, just really go out, push, execute at the highest level and, just get on a roll. And, that was something that we struggled with a little bit this tournament. We had, some tough draws, which that's part of, how things go sometimes. But it's being able to overcome that adversity and battle back. And, we had some great early tournament wins, which really I'm proud of, and especially with guys like, Gunner Filipowicz getting, a big pin in the first round and, Andrew Christie getting a pin over the number one seed, ranked opponent in that first round. I mean, those are the type of starts that we're looking for. And, they didn't happen at every weight, and very few. I feel like we did get off to that best start, but at the end of the day, I think our guys dealt with that adversity well, and they battled back, and we had a really strong showing going into day two. So it's just consistency throughout the entire tournament and going out there and just executing the way you know how to and the way we train each and every day. So when I think about, just, where we were at on day one, starting, just at the bottom, I mean, Charlie Farmer, who is a guy that, he's been Mr. Consistent in our lineup for, quite a while now. I mean, Chuck was back to himself and going out, and even though he dropped a match, in the round of 16, he's battling, you know, with everything that he has, and that's all we ask out of every one of these guys each and every time out there. So, really happy with his performance going out and just getting some big wins and, just progressing throughout the tournament. Connor Collins, a guy that, originally wasn't scheduled to come on this trip, probably 48 hours before we left, he got that call and he was up training with us over break. And, just it really shows the commitment level that our guys have, right? I mean, we only asked the 17 guys that were traveling to Southern Scuffle to be back over that Christmas break, that 4-day period, and we had over 35 guys in our room, right, during that time, and that really speaks to the commitment level that these guys have. It speaks to the brotherhood, and when the opportunity came up for Connor, he took it, and I believe he delivered at the absolute highest level, and got some really good wins throughout the tournament, and especially on day one, which really set him up in a position to go place on day two. Our heavyweights, they are consistent. I believe we have probably the best heavyweight training situation in the country, and especially Lucas Stoddard and Brady Colbert. I mean, they delivered, right? They had really strong performances, and went out and showed that why they are national qualifiers, and really proud of those guys heading into day two. Yeah, day one of this tournament, it was a grind. Typically there is a short little break throughout the day. We did not get that this year. It was a bigger tournament than normal, right? So, I mean, that's part of it, right? Dealing with that adversity, dealing with some, early losses, which we had to battle back from. Really going into that first night, going into the second day, my messaging to the team was, "Hey, just, we need to come back strong," right? And I think our guys really did a great job of getting ready for that second day, preparing and just going out and, making sure that we got on the podium. And we had, 6 guys battling on the backside and, 2 of them wrestling each other, and everybody pushed through, right? It was a really strong session. That's really what championship teams are built from, I believe, right? Is being able to, be tough when the going gets tough. And we showed that we have that in us. And that's something I'm really proud of. So anybody that follows our team, right? They understand what BHA is, right? It's brotherhood, it's heart, attitude, and warrior. And on day two of this tournament, seeing our guys not just being the guys going out and competing, right? But seeing all their brothers mat side for every match, right? That's a trade, that's a bond, a brotherhood, a relationship that is unmatched, I believe within many programs. I mean, these guys, they are there side by side, whether they're in the match or not, just making sure that their brother has everything that they need. And that's something that, is special to this program. And, these guys, they're there to fight for each other each and every time out there. And, that support is really, I believe, a huge reason for our success is they know that, hey, I'm not just out here alone on this mat, right? I've got my brothers there cheering right next to me. And when they can do that, I think special things can happen. So late night on Saturday night, guys got done late. We still had to get some weight off for day two weigh-ins. Coaches are side by side with our athletes, making sure they have every need met. We're going back, we're watching film, trying to get ready for day two. And that messaging was simple, like, hey, we didn't perform probably to our best on day one, but day two we need to, really get tough when the going gets tough. And, we've got 7 guys that are heading into the tournament on day two, and, 6, two guys are wrestling each other, right? But it was, hey, let's win every match, right? And our guys, they went out there and they won every one of those placement matches. And that's something that, I think is rare, right? Is, when you get in those tough rounds, those tough tournaments, it's easy to sometimes take a back seat. And we had to, in a couple of those matches, come from behind, and steal some victories. And that's where that grittiness, that toughness of being an Army wrestler really pays off. And, it wasn't just one round. I felt like on day two, we caught fire, right? It was lightning in a bottle and our guys were just win, win, win. And I think that type of momentum, it gets contagious, right? And our guys, I mean, they really showed out on day two. I'm really proud of them. Brady Colbert is a guy that just continues to just impress each and every time out. I think every time he hits the mat right now, he's getting better. This weekend was no different. I think especially going into day two in his blood round match, he really went out there, not only just to win the match, but, to dominate. The way he continues to move his feet, to set his hands. We've been really pressuring him to be a little bit more selective on some of his leg attacks and really working on using his hands to set his opponents and, really tire guys out and, take advantage of more scoring opportunities late. I mean, I was super impressed by him today and what he's been able to do. And not only in just winning the match, right, but just looking to dominate, and just continuing to pressure and score points each and every time out. I mean, that's the identity we want to see in an Army wrestler, right? And he continued to do that. Just really excited for his growth and continued development. Gunner Filipowicz is a guy that really we were looking for a big performance out. We gave him a week off against Indiana and, really just look for him to clean some things up. And I think he did a really nice job of, recovering from that this week and, proving that, hey, like, I'm a serious contender at this weight class. And, going out and in his quarterfinal and his semifinal, really taking tough matches and being able to be gritty and stingy, and that's what it takes to win at the highest level, right? And, I think he showed why he's ranked where he is and being able to go and execute and, really show that, hey, like I deserve to compete with, a top 10 ranked guy, returning All-American in the country. His performance was gutsy and, I think if we can clean up a couple of those leg attacks, I mean, I think we had 3 different shots in the finals that we were in on. If we score one of those, that's a different match. And I think he's right where he needs to be as we look to head down the road here. When I think about the overall experience of this trip, one, I think every time our guys are on the road together, they continue to develop that bond, that brotherhood, tighter and tighter. And, this isn't just, 1v1. Well, it is an individual sport. These guys are fighting for something more than themselves. They're fighting for their team, for their university. And that's just something that excites me because, this is a team sport. That's really how we want to approach it. And I think when you're winning alongside your brothers, it just gets that much more fun, right? So if we can continue to use this momentum that we got in day two and really move forward in the right ways, we're going to have a pretty successful season down the road here. So I'm really excited to get back to work with these guys. I know they're hungry. They want to get back. They're ready to compete right away. And, those are some conversations that we'll have over the next couple of days about, what is next for them. And really excited to get back home in front of our fans, in front of our people, and just, perform at the absolute highest level. So, really encourage everybody, go to, goarmywestpoint.com, purchase tickets, come see us against American, come see us. We've got 2 or 3 more home duels this season, and we'll continue to get ready for the EIWA tournament and the national tournament, but really excited to take those next steps with these guys and, just continue to move forward.